evening, cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And welcome to our reaction, review, discussion, speculation of Chapter 4 of the Book of Boba Fett. This one is called The Gathering Storm.
Yep.
Now, with the title of Gathering Storm, did you feel like we were going to get a mostly flashback episode?
No.
But we got some major gathering of the storm in this episode.
Yes, it filled in the remainder of the timeline up to when we first see him in Mandalorian.
Yeah. We're gonna, if you haven't been to one of our reviews before or a reaction or discussion, we just watched the episode. We don't know every droid number and every everything, but we kind of go with the themes and stuff like that. But we also just watched the episode, so there's gonna be stuff that we're gonna miss. What we're not gonna miss is the whistle at the end of the episode.
I'm wearing my Sweet Baby Kevin shirt.
We will get to that part of the conversation of what that's going to mean going forward. But I want to talk about the rest of this black fashness.
Easy for you to say.
Nailed it. The idea is that we got the rest of the story from after the Tuskens had been killed,
Right.
By the biker gang, to Boba going after Slave One. I don't care what they call it now; it's Slave One. And the conversation, the idea of I can't go do this by myself, and so he happens to find Finnick after she's been shot. So the timeline now matches storytelling wise in the flashbacks. I got it. I had to look at the flash pop over there. In the flashbacks to episode 5 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
In the previous episode, we had the mechanic and the droids show up as he was walking by the helmets and the spikes.
Right. Which the speculation was that was the same time that Mandalorian showed up there.
Yeah. And they probably crossed each other in the street.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right.
And I actually want
Which now makes you want to go back and watch that episode and see if you see him, like, walk by or
you
something.
see a bantha walking in the background or something. What I really want is like a cut scene of Boba walking through town on the bantha and like him seeing somebody in Mandalorian armor walking by and he's like, is that mine? It looks like mine. It's not. Hey, did you see that? But we get how Finnick stayed alive.
Right, which is technologically interesting. Because, like, this whole section here is missing, and she's got a bunch of, like, things that make her legs move now, I guess. It's very interesting.
I've never been shot in the stomach. We know somebody who has.
In the chest, not the stomach.
He got one. Oh, yeah, he had one in the chest, too. They're little holes. They're little holes and kind of thing. Not your whole midsection. Now, it was a blaster.
Right.
So
it's different than a bullet.
But when all that happened, it was kind of like, oh my God, this is this galaxy known bounty hunter, killer,
assassin,
who gets pretty much the drop on her and is left for dead on the sands of Tatooine. Where have I heard this story before?
Yeah, and you know that Mignon Wen wasn't going to be like in 2 episodes,
right,
and then just be gone.
Yeah.
You knew she was going to be around for a bit.
He took her to the human mod tattoo parlor place, whatever.
Yep.
Where we kind of met the mods in the last episode, the new Vespa biker gang. From a lot of the things that happened in the last episode, people talking about that biker gang, the Vespa gang kind of thing. was actually a fun conversation. It was like there were some things that people complained about, like zippers. You're going to complain about zippers and not.
Whatever.
There's no noise in space. Stop telling me TIE fighters are cool. But you zipper, whatever. But of all the things that happened in that last episode, introducing them first and then showing how Finnick is kind of one of them now.
Right.
Not necessarily of her own volition, but
Right.
but very much
Well, and how it happened, how it was even a thing, especially on Tatooine, it's like this desert planet. How did they have, because the last time we saw anything like that happen was with Luke, and he's on on a space station or whatever, and it's doctors and a medical procedure, and it's all sterile and blah blah blah, and then suddenly Finnick has her whole midsection
mechanically rebuilt,
enhanced, and so how did that even happen? So that's little story arc helped get you there.
It also adds to Boba's story of why he was so quick to give them a job in the last episode.
Yeah.
Like, he has a soft spot for those who are different from what the quote unquote norm are supposed to be.
Yeah.
And a lot of that came because of his time with the Tuskens.
Yeah.
And even Finnick pointed it out when all this was going on in the flashback scene of you've gotten your time with the Tuskens has made you soft.
Yeah.
And he said, no, it's made me stronger because I have a better understanding of there's a bigger world out there than just getting paid to go kill people.
Right. Yep.
And I really appreciated that simple storytelling point of how did we get to this Boba?
Yeah.
And they've been doing it, incrementally. I can say that, but I can't say flashbacks. Over the last 4 episodes with his time with the Tuskens, and now him going after Slave One and saving Finnick, and then him going to look for his armor and going to the Sarlacc pit and that whole thing. And we got a sonic charge. I'm so excited.
I think that it has helped. I mean, some people might agree with Finnick that he's, gone soft, but I think that the story gives Boba way more dimension than he ever had
1000%
in the movies, right? He was like this kind of
four lines in the original movie.
Yeah.
And then we get Boba as a young child, so he doesn't really do anything. As much as I love Daniel Logan, he doesn't really do anything. And then in the Clone Wars, he's a 12-year-old bounty hunter dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I love that this added dimension to him.
Yeah, definitely. He's not the butt of the joke.
Right. Well, right. You're this.
Boba Fett has a rocket. So does the Rocketeer.
but him getting jacked by blind Han Solo on a lucky shot.
Yeah.
Which is why I kind of made the joke earlier about Finnick getting. It's like it just. And Jesse James was that way. Billy the Kid was that way. Like there's a history of these infamous outlaws who kind of get not soft, but they get kind of complacent in who they are and get jacked by somebody that has no right jacking them.
Yeah.
It's pretty much what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And I love that they addressed all of that in this episode and what they've been doing with these flashbacks and everything. Yep. And then in that flashback too, in this episode, they talked about the fact that, Boba's like, I'm done going on missions and having a chance of dying for some guy who is an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm smarter. You're smarter. Let's work together. I'm going to give Finnick, he's telling Finnick, I'm going to give you something that nobody else is going to give you, which is loyalty, a cut, a home.
Yeah.
Like his first sales pitch of wanting to be Doma on Tatooine was to Finnick. And if he can convince Finnick, he can convince anybody.
Yes, but it's going to probably be a little bit of a harder fight with all of the other heads, crime bosses, when he brings them all to dinner and shows off his Rancor.
Rancor. I love that scene. So that's pretty much everything that happens in the flashback. When he gets out of the Banta tank, although there was a joke in there, he needs to get his armor back, and she says, "No, you need a Banta tank."
Yeah.
And then it was pointed out by heavy spoilers that each time he got out of the Banta tank, he was healed. His facial scars were healed a
Yeah,
little bit
I
more.
noticed that. Yep, that he was getting better,
I-
looking
I-
better.
I
I think I
don't think
brought it up a couple of shows ago.
It's not something I consciously thought of, but
Oh,
it
yeah.
was there. Oh yeah, duh. But the droid saying you're fully healed kind of gives us an idea that this is probably going to be the last of the flashbacks.
Yeah, because he doesn't need the Banta tank anymore unless he gets shot or something. But
yeah.
I mean, they've caught us up to where we get him in the Mandalorian, so we know.
And we know the story from Mandalorian.
Yeah,
on.
yeah. So I don't see any reason to go back.
The family Godfather style dinner that we got.
Yeah.
The heads of the different families on Mos Espa, pretty much Boba saying, "I love Fennec's sales pitch to all of them.
Yeah,
Like, this guy is going to help you be better, get rich, like you were with Jabba. Remember
Yeah.
Jabba? Jabba was a badass. Jabba also made you rich, and Bib, he was a dick.
yeah. He didn't know what he was doing.
But Boba over here, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So you should probably listen to him. And I love that kind of conversation of like sowing the seeds of thought in all of their heads.
Yeah.
And then Boba just saying, listen, the Pikes are taken from all of us. Let's band together. And all of them are like, no. And he's like, okay. Then what I'm really asking is, don't get involved when I go to when this war with the Pikes start.
Yeah, yeah. Don't pick a side. Stay neutral. So we'll see.
They were all going to screw him.
Yeah. We'll see, which is probably why, we get to we're going to need more people. I mean, we have a badass Wookiee now, but
Yeah.
that's not going to be enough. And my feeling is it'll be one of them. Probably, I don't know the names of these aliens, but the dog face guy, I think it's going to be him. That
Yeah, the one that was sitting at the other end of the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be him that goes against him, and maybe goes to the Pikes or whatever and says,
Yep.
"This is what Boba's going to do," and then they're gonna kill him and set an example
Right.
for the other two to be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, no, we weren't gonna do that at all. We were totally on your side."
Yeah. That I definitely comes across as one of the three families will be eliminated.
Yeah.
Probably in the next episode to kind of lead us into what is going to be the big war.
I wouldn't be surprised if he gets his arms ripped off.
Yeah, right. We didn't talk about BK Santi in the pleasure parlor. I can never remember what they call it. And watching the Trandoshans having a good time and him just getting drunk. Trandoshans were the ones who came to Kashyyyk to enslave. I think it's the Trandoshans. I'm pretty sure. Again, we don't know all the individual names of all the, but they were the ones who enslaved the Wookiees. Even if he was in exile, he's still a Wookiee. He still doesn't want to see his people be taken. So him watching them have
And
a
he's
good time.
already pissed off because, he just got dismissed. He got turned over by the Fets. Here, you can have him, and then, or the Fets, the Hutts, and then Boba's like, go do your thing. And so
Yeah.
now he's pissed off about that, and now he's pissed off watching them.
He lost wasn't able to finish his bounty against Fett.
Yeah.
And then he got beat up by a bunch of kids and two pig face guys. It was like, it just...
He was not having a good day.
He was not having a good day, and he was drunk. I love the head of the head of the pleasure parlor. I cannot remember her name. I need to remember her name. Her trying to convince the BK not to pull off the arms of the Trandoshan.
Right.
As soon as he got picked up, I'm like, somebody's gonna lose arms. But her whole speech is what Boba has been kind of talking about the entire time.
Yeah.
Of it's a new age, it's a more civilized time. You had your glory years. Let me help you, help yourself. Like that whole conversation is all what Boba has been kind of preaching. And then one arm gets ripped off, which I just think is hilarious. And then he pays off the Twi'lek that was hanging out with them. The Twi'lek, I'm assuming prostitute. That's kind of what happens to a lot of them after Ryloth is taken over by the Empire. A lot of them go off into the galaxy as sex workers or working in mines and stuff like that and everything. But he pays her off instead of paying off the casino, the pleasure house. He pays off the girl that was with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really kind of interesting point too, that it almost, from my point of view, what was being said to him, he heard and he understands, and he does actually have some kind of feelings for other people, but he's been treated so badly for so long.
Yeah. Well, and he's honestly almost throwing her words back at her, because she's telling him, you know, you were the greatest and you had your time, but now that time's over and this is a more civilized culture and blah, 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 while she's running
a casino, pleasure house, whatever,
right,
bar,
and
on some backwork,
owns essentially all these sex workers. So it's almost like throwing it in her face. Oh, I need to move into the more civilized time while you're owning.
So he pays off the prostitute and not the chick who runs the place. I just thought,
it's like
so good.
Yeah, it's like a slap in the face to her.
Boba gave him a job though to protect him at the dinner, which I really like, because we talked about last week about how when Boba let him go, that kindness was going to come back towards Boba, and Boba offering him a job is like kind of what he did to Finnick. I saved your life. You're going to help me. Then you're on your way. Oh wait, you want to stay around?
Right.
The Gamorreans,
let them make their own decision. Come to him on their own.
Yep.
Not because he said so, or because he'll kill you if you don't, or because he's going to give you a whole bunch of money. You know, he is paying them, but not. That shouldn't be the only reason that they're doing the job.
Yes. That is his in with a lot of these people who only know that way of life.
Yeah.
And so that's a very interesting. That's a very interesting kind of story beat that's going to lead into what's going to happen next, because we got, after the dinner, Finnick and Boba have the evening nightcap, watching them all leave in their speeder limos or whatever, and Finnick pretty much like, do you trust any of them? And him saying, I trust them to have their own best interest and at heart, which is yes, that's true. They're all going to have their own interests. They're going to realize what the Pikes are doing. They're trying to take over whatever's going on. I don't think it's just necessarily spice. I think there's maybe something else going on. I've been talking about this a lot. I feel like Tatooine is too insignificant of a planet to keep having all this stuff happening. So there's something there. There's got to be something there.
Yeah.
And so, but her saying, do you really think that they're going to honor their agreement? And Boba saying, no, I expect them to honor their livelihood.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting point too. But they also know that the war is coming with the Pikes, and they need backup.
Right. Whether they do or not, he's still on his own. They didn't agree to help him, so he needs an army.
He needs an army, and the Mando whistle blows.
Yeah.
And they pan back from him. Now, what the Mando whistle means. So Boba has a honor code that we learned about in the second season of The Mandalorian. He helped Din. He helped get Grogu back.
Right.
And he was also the taxi for them to go get Bo-Katan and everybody. Right. And so he fulfilled his part of what he thought was the honorable thing to do, which is something that Jango entrusted in him and instilled. That's the word. I'll just go through all the ends until I get there. Instantly, instilled in him that he lost his way at some point in time, and he's gotten it back because of the Tuscans. But the thing about Din, as we sit right now, he has the Darksaber.
Right.
And that changes everything. And when they introduced the Darksaber at the end of season 1, it was cool Easter egg. Wow, this means so much what's going forward. But now you're laying out this groundwork of you're going to unify the Mandalorians either behind Din, because a lot of the Mandalorian tribes and groups that are out there very much believe in the power of the sword, the power, the Excalibur. It's their Excalibur,
Right.
And so if they follow Din, if Boba goes to Din and say, "Hey, listen, I need your help. There's a war coming, and I'll be in your debt, and I'll owe you one." And Din says, "Okay, cool. Everybody's following me around because I have this weird little light up thing. I don't quite understand because I don't know what Jedis are. Okay, cool. Well, if Bo-Katan takes it from him somehow, even though she won't take it from him,
Right.
she has to physically beat him in a fight.
Right.
If she takes it to him, then we know the conflict between Bo-Katan and Boba and what that means. But Bo-Katan's going to need money to reform the Mandalorian Empire, and it's not going to be on Mandalore. So if she takes it, now she wants to work for Boba to get the money, or crazy wackadoo version, Boba's the one who ends up with it.
I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Well, Din doesn't want it.
I know.
And I think-
and they've got, this was episode 4, right?
Yeah, they got 3
And
left.
to wrap up where the Mandalorian left off, because we left off with Grogu going with Luke, and that was it. So you still have that whole who's got the because like you said, Din doesn't want it, Bo-Katan wants it, but
Right.
so you've got to wrap that up, and then you've got to figure out how or why they're going with him. And oh, by the way, there's still a war happening, and
Right.
then the aftermath of that, or
I don't think that story, if it's the Darksaber story, is definitely season 3 of The Mandalorian. That's
Yeah.
that's definitely going to be what's going
Yeah.
on. But if you add this wrinkle in that Boba is there, he is a foundling. He never said he was a Mandalorian, but he is definitely a foundling. Like his father is a foundling. And so just having this laid out in front of them, like, here's this opportunity that anybody with the Darksaber could rally Mandalorians galaxy wide
yeah,
in this time where there's really no big power set up. All the crime syndicates are trying to take over. That's why
Right.
we keep getting the Pikes.
Right.
The new empire, the new republic, is still fledgling, trying to figure things out, which
Yeah.
is why all this stuff is going on in the Outer Rim.
Right.
So it's just it just adds a new wrinkle to the overall story of Star Wars that you're getting. And you also have, who are the Pikes working for?
Right.
The Pikes are working for somebody. The Pikes were directly involved with Maul. Maul, at this point in time, is dead. Dead.
are we sure?
95% sure. I was 95% sure before.
Yeah.
Lucas is like, bring him back. I don't know.
Showed up.
Filoni, figure it out. We'll put spider legs on him and walk him around. It works. It gets weird. But if the Pikes are working for somebody big, Kira and Crimson Dawn, and you have, I don't know if when they started down this process of these shows that this was actually where they were going, but they are definitely setting up, telling the story of who is the power between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And Favreau said you get the first steps of the First Order kind of hinted at. That's kind of what the cloning stuff was going on. You also kind of tell us a little bit of the story of how Palpatine came back.
Yeah.
And so we never
Spoilers.
that's spoilers. And we really never got resolution on what happened on the purge
Right.
of Mandalore. And so I don't think they meant to go this way, but they're laying this groundwork, and we're Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett in. We know Ahsoka's directly involved with what's going on. We have what's going on with Andor is going to lay some groundwork for something else, I think. And so it just I really like it. This is, for me, it's Marvel level kind of conversations that I can have with you, because in the books and the comics, they do a lot of this layering and conversations and stuff like that, setting up something here to explain it somewhere else that's going to have effects somewhere down the line. But they haven't really done that with the movies too much.
Yeah.
And so I like it. I like it a lot. Boba Fett's going to be the head of Mandalore. That's I like the idea. But the next episode, we're definitely going to get. I'm going to say next week we're definitely going to get Din at least.
Okay.
And we're definitely going to have that conversation of, okay, you owe me. I helped you get the kid back, and then you handed him off to some stranger.
I don't think you'll be that harsh about it, but
Tact is not a thing that Boba has. So I think that's it for this episode. I'm sure we're missing some stuff. Oh, there's one thing I did want to say. This is one thing I did want to say. I should have started with this. There was discussions about what happened with the Tuskens last week and how they were killed off screen. And the idea of them, they spent all this time introducing this kind of indigenous culture and stuff, and then unceremoniously kind of killing them off screen without really any continuation of explanation of what happened.
okay.
And I like the story point, because the story is not about them. The story is about Boba.
Right.
But I understand people's critique or criticism of diminishing the importance of an indigenous group after spending so much time building them up.
Right.
And I understand that conversation, and that's not really a conversation that I feel can have without someone who's more affected by that decision somewhere else.
Right.
But I just want to recognize that I understand that criticism. I understand the conversation that's being had around that criticism. But storytelling wise, I appreciated it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
I don't know that I cared one way or the other, honestly. Right. It wasn't something that struck me at the time when it happened, because that does tend to be sort of a Star Wars thing, right? Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru got killed off screen, and so that kind of stuff happens in Star Wars. I think it's a Lucas. It's a kids movie kind of thing, but except for their charred bodies climbing out of the
PG.
hole. But
that movie is PG.
But it was satisfying to watch him kill the people who killed.
First thing he did, I need to go take care of some business. Where can I drop you off? And Fennec's like, I'm along for the ride.
He's even kind of got a bit of a smirk.
Just decimates the biker gang. So satisfying. And he overkills it with the freaking missile at the end, killing the head biker guy.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're dead. Yeah. Dead. F you, dead. But I wanted to kind of mention that conversation, because it was, of all the things that people were complaining about last week and how they didn't like the story and everything, and the Vespa gang and the mods and all that kind of, and the chase scene and all that kind of stuff, there was this more important conversation about what that was. And I think that's a viable conversation.
Yep.
If you want to have some fun conversation about why is there Vespas in Star Wars, there's space lizards. There's, right. I mean, like,
why are there droids that look like 1980s trash cans?
Yeah. Where is he? He's over there. So yeah, it just, I wanted to mention it. It was something that popped in my head, and I wanted to kind of expand on
Yep,
it some longer.
that's
So
fair.
that is our thoughts on episode 4 of the Book of Boba Fett. Let us know what the gathering storm, rising storm, the storm of stormy storm,
Stormageddon.
Flash. That's Doctor Who. Let us know what you thought of our reaction and review of this episode in the comments down below. Please be nice. That is a requirement around here. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, follow us on all the social media stuff, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links in the description down below. And until next time, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and good night now.